Welcome to our class today, our class online school. Today we are taking basic science, and today's topic is environmental pollution. Environmental pollution. Under environmental pollution, we are going to talk about different pollution that we have under basic science. We have air pollution, water pollution, and soil pollution. First, we want to talk about what environmental pollution is before we talk about the different types of pollution. When we talk about environmental pollution, it is said to be a contamination of the physical or biological environment or a biological component that have effects on our earth. A contamination of the physical and biological components of the earth or atmosphere system, in which the normal environment or the normal environmental process have been tempered adversely with. That is to say, it has adverse effects on humans or organisms that are on earth. That is environmental pollution. So having known that environmental pollution, it's a form of contamination of the environment, either through biological or physical means, that have adverse effects on humans or other organisms that surround our earth. Now, what is air pollution? Let's take the first one, air pollution. It is a process whereby the natural air we take in has been tampered with. The natural air we take in have been tampered with. That is to say, the natural air, the fresh air we take in, have been contaminated. In what way can such contamination happen? It can be in various ways. It can be through urbanization under the air pollution. It can be through fuel combustion. It can equally be through smoke and other things. Now, what do I mean by air pollution through urbanization? We see industrialization in bigger cities and towns. We see different machines working, and this machine emanates toxic substance into the air in form of smoke, and it can be in large quantities since we have different industrialized areas in these urban areas. What about the fuel combustion? We cook. We use cooking gases. We use vehicles. Now, the cooking gases we use, smokes too. The vehicle we use on our roads brings out smoke from their exhausts, and these smokes that are brought out of these machines have toxic effects in the air you and I take in. This is another thing that causes air pollution. What again can cause air pollution? We've talked about urbanization, we've talked about fuel combustion, and we talked about cooking gases, and we talked about the release of poisonous substance into the air. Smoke that are released into the air can cause harm to humans, and these gas or smokes that are released into the air can actually cause a lot of things. We see today our environment suffers from global warming, and sometimes we experience toxic rain. All these as a result of the pollution we see in our air. If our air have not been polluted by man and its activity, these processes wouldn't have destroyed our environment. You and I would have been taking fresh air if there is no smoke, no urbanization, no fluoridation of gases into the air. Toxics wouldn't have gone into the system. So that is majorly air pollution. And we find out that this air pollution have a very serious effect in human. Why do I say so? Because we see that most persons that stays or walk around these places that this smoke goes into the air, most of them suffer for either lung cancer, some suffer from asthma. And we find out that this air pollution is not good for children, the young individuals, because their immune system is not strong, and so they cannot effectively be able to combat it. So it has adverse effects on humans, most especially young ones. What about the elderly ones? We find out that elderly individuals are equally affected because their immune system is weakened because of aging. Now we have individuals that do not have strong immune system, and because of this they have health challenges and health problems. So that is for air pollution. Having seen what air pollution now, let's go to another form of pollution that has been troubling humans. What is another pollution that we have been suffering? We'll talk about water. You will agree with me that almost every living thing on earth today survives with water. Without water, living organisms cannot survive at all. And so since we know that water, it's a major life kind of resources that keeps you and I alive and other organisms that are living today alive, it means that water is very essential for our common well-being. But then, how is our water polluted that makes it look so unhealthy for the human race in general? Now, what do we mean by water pollution? Water pollution is a process whereby fresh water that is supposed to be consumed by living organisms, by you and I, by other living organisms that live within our ecosystem, living fresh water, natural fresh water that we are supposed to have been contaminated by human activity. It has been contaminated by one form of human activity or the other. What are some of these activities that have led to this pollution? We are going to talk about number one, industrial waste. We find out that most of these producing country that using different kind of materials like lead, like other toxic substance, they manufacture this, use these materials, and after which they gather the leftover or the waste material that comes from their production and then go straight into the waters and dump them. So industrial waste that humans are not able to manage well and that are conveyed straight into the waters has actually caused great water pollution for the human race. And so this kind of industrial waste dumped into the water, they add to the imbalanced nature of water properties, and it has adverse effect on both aquatic habitats and non-aquatic habitats like you and I that doesn't live in the water. But for the fishes and other organisms that live in the water, they might destroy their natural habitat and they may die off. And those non-aquatic habitats like you and I that need the water to survive may consume unhealthy water, which might have adverse effect on our health. That is one major problem of water. Next one, which is the number 2. Haven't talked about industrial waste dumped into the sea. We have pesticide, herbicide, and insecticides. We find out that this herbicide, this pesticide, these insecticides that are sprayed on plants are washed away into the sea or into natural sources of water, because when the rain falls, these chemicals goes down into the ground and they are moved as runoff water into the sea or into the ocean. And they are not friendly to aquatic life. They are not even friendly to non-aquatic life like you and I. So, pesticide is another pollutant nature of water pollution, because when it is washed off, the chemical combination causes it down the water drain. Now, another thing is oil spills. If you stay along the Niger Delta area of Nigeria, you understand what I mean. Sometimes these oil companies have spills that flows into the rivers, and once these spills sprays into the rivers or spills into the river, we find out that it contaminates the water and aquatic life dies. You just see fishes dies off, they float up the water, and the water environment, it's no longer conducive. The natural habitats for these organisms have been tampered with, and even humans at that point in time cannot consume this water. That oil spillage, it's a very bad thing to aquatic life, even to humans. So it's another form of water pollution. And lastly, we talk about how this water pollution have effects on humans. Humans take in this water knowingly or unknowingly, and they are affected. We see cases of diarrhea, we see cases of cholera. All these as a result of contamination in water. And so once we as individuals take contaminated water, our system reacts to it and it can cause disease-causing agent. So water pollution is a very bad thing to human life, both aquatic and non-aquatic habitats. Now, having said what water pollution is, now what about soil pollution? Soil, it's that surface of the earth where we plant our crops, we build our houses, and we do a lot of things on the surface of the earth. Now, how can the environment be polluted and the soil can be affected? The introduction of unwanted chemical into the soil due to human activities can actually have an adverse effect on the soil, and it will reduce its productivity. What do I mean? Once the soil absorbs nitrogen compounds from the soil that is unfit for plants, the plants will not do well. And once it drains the plant of its nutrients because of absorbing nitrogen components that is unfit for the crops, you find out that it will not go well. You even find out that sometimes because of soil pollution, we have other forms of soil damages. We'll talk about it when we talk about erosion and other things. Now, what are some of the adverse effects of soil pollution? Number one thing I want to talk about is industrial waste. Just like companies can go throw their waste in the water, so also they can go dump their waste on the soil. And once these wastes like lead are dumped in the soil, they rid the soil of its natural components and nutrients. And once these nutrients are tampered with or damaged, the soil becomes unfertile for any meaningful agricultural kind of activity. So refuse dumping, it's a very serious problem under soil pollution. And so please, let's stop dumping refuse. Sometimes, another thing is hazardous waste. Haven't talked of dumping of refuse. We have another one, hazardous waste. What do I mean by hazardous waste? We see some medical equipment that have been used and disposed. This equipment might be toxic for the soil. It can be hazardous for even humans. And so once this is introduced into the soil, because it has its own toxic kind of stuffs, it poses a problem to this. And so this hazardous waste, it's not good for our soils. So we should be very careful what we throw down the soil we use. It will rid the soil of its nutrients and what is required to help our plants grow. What is another thing that causes soil pollution? Mining. We see many mining companies out there destroying our soil. Now we'll talk about deforestation. The earth is covered by green grasses. The earth has its own shield that shields the soil from direct sun rays. Most times, these trees are cut down. And once these trees are cut down, these green grasses are done away with, maybe because of the use of herbicides. At the end of it all, the soil is exposed to direct sunlight from the soil. And that might not be good for the soil to retain its moisture, to retain its nutrient components, and that might have adverse effects on the soil. And sometimes, because the earth has been rid of its natural nutrients, plants cannot hold it. Then it gives room to erosion. And so once this erosion wash off the earth's surface, the top first surface that contains some other nutrients that would have been okay for plants will be washed off, sometimes into the ocean, into the sea, and into the river. And so in that case, the soil is rid of its natural nutrients. And so erosion can cause a great problem, can cause problem that leads to damaging of the soil. Deforestation, mining, dumping of hazardous waste, dumping of industrial waste, and other things you can think of that we make our plants, our crops, not to produce to its optimum, and making the land or the soil, ridding it of its natural nutrients. So by and large, you see what environmental pollution is: contamination of our environment through the introduction of either physical or biological components that rid the environment of its natural state. We talk about air pollution, how the natural air, the fresh air you and I are supposed to take in, is being contaminated by either gas flaring, combustion, smoke, and other things. Then water pollution. Water pollution is when the water is contaminated and it's no longer fit for aquatic habitats and even non-aquatic habitats to take in. And once that happens, the water environment become unfit for these creatures. Then we'll talk about soil, the last one. So, it is good for us to protect our environment. In our next class, we are going to talk about other things that relate to environmental pollution, how we can be able to protect our environment, what and what you and I need to do to be on the safer side. Thank you for dropping by. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please feel free to subscribe, share our videos. If you have subscribed to, share it. If you have any comment, give it below the comment box. Give us feedback. Tell us where you want us to improve and do better. Tell us subjects you want us to take on Class Online School. We appreciate you and we wish you come by next time and visit Class Online School.